So starting it off, now this one I do kind of understand why it's not getting as much attention, but there is a budget option of this, and that's kind of the version I'm talking about, because this one is a bit pricey. This is a Katsu. However, the materials on this, the price is kind of justified, because we're talking about ZDP 189 with a San blade, titanium frame lock, zirconium clip, zirconium show side with a carbon fiber overlay over the zirconium. Zirconium is very expensive. Then you have a karambit ring that you can put on at any time very easily. You just untwist this, take the clip off, slide this out, slide that in, and bang. It's very easy to do. Now, the thing is that the budget one does not come with the karambit ring, and I think that's why that it's not getting as much of attention. However, just the knife itself, take away the karambit ring. This is an awesome little knife, and the budget one still comes with the titanium frame lock. It just has AUS 8 steel, and instead of zirconium, it comes with aluminum or G10. You can get the aluminum with carbon fiber or the G10 with carbon fiber. I think that's the way it goes. But it's still a titanium frame lock. Anyways, so it is very cool. The front flipper, you can see how high it is. You can see the jibbing, great texturing, very easy to flick, very easy to do the side finger. The reach over this way, you do have to watch out for your finger because it will stop it. It doesn't hurt or anything, but you know, it'll just stop it. So you got to keep it out of the way a little bit. But as far as the most practical ways to flick your knife, man, it works great. And it's just a cool knife, you know, and I'm just surprised I don't see this on more people's pages or, you know, getting as much of attention as it possibly deserves. Like I said, this one I do understand because of the price tag being at like $365, but for $100 you can get the affordable version. Next is the Wii Nitro. Now, I think this knife just kind of got overshadowed by so many other great designs because Wii Knife Co. drops so many knives and so many great ones. And, you know, I just think it got overshadowed, especially with the prices kind of going up. People are being a little bit more picky, but it is a great model. 20 CV steel, titanium bolster lock. This one is the brown micarta. There is different options and different versions. I really like the look of this brown micarta. It almost looks like a vintage micarta. Feels really good in the hand. I love the look of it. Titanium milled pocket clip and back spacer. Good access to the lock bar. Very, very smooth. It has multiple forms of deployment with the thumb studs and the flipper tab. Detent's a little bit on the lighter side. Not weak, but you know, just a little bit on the lighter side. It does kind of make it pretty fidgety because, you know, you're not going to get fatigued or anything. Great size for most people. It's very compact. So, you know, like I said, you know, it's a good knife. I just think that people are, you know, it kind of got swallowed up because of so many models coming out from Wii Knife Co. I think people just kind of, you know, passed it up. And, you know, hey, if you like the look of it, it is a good one. And then the Wii Banter. Now, I do think I know why this one kind of got overshadowed just a little bit. But let me be clear, a lot of people do like this. A lot of people do have it. But when the original Banter came out, there was the original Banter and then the mini Banter. People were screaming they wanted an XL version of the Wii Banter. But I don't think they were wanting the forward finger choil like the Mini had. So the Mini had the forward finger choil, the big one, or the regular one did not. So I think people wanted this all to be blade length, no finger choil, because there's plenty of handle back here. So if the blade started back here, it would still be just as good. But he did add the forward finger choil. And let me be clear, I love this knife. I think this is a fantastic work knife. 20 CV steel, G10 scales, deep carry clip inset with flat screws. It is a steel liner lock. These things go for like right around $150, something like that, give or take. Good action. I believe the thumb studs are titanium. But yeah, like I said, I think that if the forward finger choil wasn't there, I think a lot of people would have bought into it, even though it is so good and it does work so good. You know, even with that forward finger choil, the spear point blade makes it super versatile in any grip. And, you know, like, I think it's one of the best work knives. There's a lot of knives that are great work knives, but this one, it is a really good one. But like I said, I think people just, you know, they wanted more blade length for the handle. So blade to handle ratio, I guess you could say. Next, the SHIELDON Hierophanт. So this one's more of a budget knife, but SHIELDON did a really good job with this one. So, and I think, you know, some of SHIELDON's knives are, you know, some of them are good, some of them are okay, you know, and I think that's what holds people back a little bit, because if they've tried SHIELDON, you know, like they do kind of feel like budget knives. Most of them. They do have some really cool titanium knives that have come out that are premium, but as far as their budget knives go. But this is one that is actually really good. They did the leverage point from the action perfectly. So you see the center of the pivot. You see how high the flipper tab is relative to the center of the pivot. You have so much leverage in this flipper tab. I mean, this thing hammers out. Now you also have good access to the lock bar. Not fall shut, but it is on bearings, so it's still very, very smooth. Then the thumb studs, they are a little bit low, but you wind up realizing that it lands right in the exact spot you reverse flick at. So the flipper tab's really high and gives you a lot of leverage, and the reverse flick is also really good. And you got the thumb flick. The thumb flick, like I said, it is a little bit lower, but it's still easy to get to. And then when you open it up and you're gonna use it, 154 cm blade steel, G10 scale, steel aligner lock, inset, deep carry clip with flat screws, not reversible, and it does have T8 hardware. Now, or at least on the body screws, the clip screws are T6. But anyways, when it's open, it has, you can see how it kind of leans forward. So this fits in your hand. The handle fits in your hand like a glove. It does the exact same shape your hand does. So it's always leaning forward at what you're cutting, which I always appreciate when a knife does that well. You can do the trigger pull over the flipper tab, which is going to be the most comfortable grip. Choking back, you're a bit far from the edge, so you know that's going to be the grip. However, when you're doing utility cuts, which is, you know, one of the most primary ways you use a folding knife, the handle wraps perfectly into your hand, you know, just like your hand does, like it's the same shape. So it's very comfortable. You have a lot of leverage pushing down into that tip to do utility cuts. So this is just a great user. The CIVIVI SINISYS. The CIVIVI SINISYS is another one. This is a fantastic example of a clip point that actually works good for EDC, that actually excels at EDC. This thing will probably outcut a lot of drop points. And the reason why is because it's a straight clip point. So because it's a straight clip point, this tip is super acute. You have a ton of leverage down into that tip. This thing does great utility cuts. 14C28M blade steel, nice and thin geometry. It slices really good. Now, as far as the handle materials go, burlap micarta, but it does come in other options. Yes, I know you see a steel lock bar insert. That's so that they can make the steel frame lock a bit tougher, and then they put a hardened steel lock bar insert so that it's hardened steel contacting hardened steel, and then they can make sure the frame lock is a bit tougher. So this is another great one, man. If you're into clip points, especially large clip point knives, because this is super slim, but it's a large knife, and man, oh man, does this thing work really good. You can also easily reverse flick off the finish, but flipper tab, super snappy, great leverage point, and yeah, super good. Like I said, this one's one that I rarely ever see anybody talking about as far as CIVIVIs go, because CIVIVI has a lot of they have a lot in their catalog. So I kind of understand that some knives are just going to be, you know, they're going to be drowned out. There's always going to be knives that are, you know, appreciated more by the community. But if you like the look of this thing, give it a try. Here's a new knife that I know is new, so that's probably why we haven't seen it like crazy, but there's 800 of them that are going to be out here until next year. And if they do well, then they'll make, you know, more, but there's only 800 of these, and I would expect that I would think that I would be seeing this all over the place. As far as right now goes, we've been screaming about getting a Wii Praxis for a long time. This Vivi Praxis is super duper popular, and it well deserved. One of the best work knives, one of the best budget knives ever. Now we have it in a premium option. S35VN blade steel, titanium frame lock, titanium deep carry clip that is inset with flat screws, not reversible, and it is very smooth, man. This detent is super good. They added the thumb studs to it, so you have multiple forms of deployment. Very slim. That is another thing. It's slimmer than the CIVIVI. So very slim in the hand, yet still very ergonomic, super duper slicey, even more slicey than the original Praxis, than the Vivi Praxis. So for I think it's around 200 bucks. I know people are kind of thinking, oh, it's S35. I wish for 200 bucks it was M390. But wait, I don't think that that's entirely true. I think that in your head you want to believe that, but let's look at it for a second. CIVIVI does a really good job with their S35VN, and S35VN is very easy to, or is more easier to heat treat than M390, and it's going to be done a little bit more consistently. You know, it was made for pocket knives. Anyways, M390, while they do an okay job with it, they do. I'm not going to say they do a horrible job with it or anything, but they don't do it as good or as consistent as some of their other steels just because it's M390. So we see it ran a little bit on the softer side for M390, and you know, so considering all those things, I think you're going to, as far as sharpening goes and edge retention goes, S35 is great. And, you know, M390 is not going to have that much more edge retention over this when it's not heat treated to its optimal range or as high as it could be. So I think, you know, anybody who really understands heat treat and understands the steels and sharpening and everything would probably even prefer the S35 in a lot of cases. Maybe not in all cases, but in some cases. And this is a great example where you're getting a good steel with good handle materials on an already awesome design. This is an awesome one. Next is another knife with premium materials, and this is another good example of M390, right? That is, it's on the softer side. This is Sativian St994, I think. Yeah, the 994. M390 steel, titanium frame lock, titanium mill pocket clip and backspacer. It does come in different color options. And then it's got this contoured carbon fiber overlay. This is probably the best Sativian I have felt, and I have a lot of Sativians. They did an incredible job with this one. It is, look at this, it's a guillotine, absolute guillotine. The action is what you'd expect from like super high-end knives. And I know being a Tanto, some people are Tanto fans, some people are not, but if you're a Tanto fan, think about getting this. It's only like 130 bucks, 120 something dollars for M390 titanium, anodized titanium and carbon fiber. And you know, it's not flimsy. It's, you know, it's a solid built knife. The ergonomics, you know, are very neutral, so it's going to work in most grips. Now, going back to the steels really quick, yes, it's M390 for an affordable price. So you can expect the heat treatment's not going to be at the highest level, right? Of course not. So expect it to have probably as much edge retention as S35VN, right? So, you know, or maybe a little less, maybe a little more, give or take, but that's where the inconsistencies come in, right? Granted, I'm not saying this knife isn't worth it. Of course it's worth it, because if this was S35VN, I would still think it's worth 120, 130 bucks, considering the handle materials and everything, the action, the fit, the finish, blah, 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 blah. But you understand right now, like looking at this knife will probably outcut this knife. You know, possibly. I haven't tested that theory, but I'm just saying. So, you know, you see where the money kind of goes a little bit more. Anyways, so this one's going to be more affordable, but, you know, you're getting, you know, quite a bit for your money still. And, you know, I know I'm sitting here, it sounds like I'm talking bad about this. I'm not talking bad about this knife. I'm just trying to, you know, show you there's a reason why the price is so much lower, right? And it is a good price. So for people that really, you know, they don't care about the high performance steels and they just want it to be decent, they just want it to be okay and good, check out the Sativian St994 if you're into Tantos. It's actually a lot, when you get it in the hand, you're like, man, this thing's actually better than I thought. Next, the real steel HUGINN. This is one I've talked about a few times that I'm just surprised I don't see more. It comes in many different handle materials, including micarta. The spear point blade is in VG10, and maybe that's why people aren't raving about it, because it's 95 bucks for VG10. VG10's a good steel, let me be clear. VG10's awesome. AUS10, VG10, 10CR, basically all the same steels. It's a good, ready to go, solid steel, easy to sharpen, holds a good edge, plenty tough. plenty of corrosion resistance. And this one comes in a design that I think is where it shines, is the design. So if you look at the handle is super duper neutral, very ergonomic. It doesn't matter what size hand you have or what grip you want to use this in. It's going to work good. So that's already right there a plus. Then you have the blade that complements the handle. This is going to be so wieldable for most people. It's going to be very natural to use this knife. Then it has washer action. So people that always scream about not wanting bearings and wanting washers, well, here's a washer knife for you. Real Steel has a few of them out. So it is a crossbar lock, so you know it's going to be a nice strong locking mechanism. Crossbar locks are very, very durable, very strong. And they did a good job with it. Now, I think, you know, like I said, I think the VG10 for $100 or 95 bucks is what kind of shies people away a little bit. I think most people would rather see it around 80 bucks. But personally, man, as long as the design is well done like this one is, I'm very happy with it. Super smooth action. You know, think Benchmade because, you know, it is a crossbar lock on washers. But anyways, yeah, this is one I would think that I would see more often on more channels. But, you know, hey, they all can't win, right? Next, the KANSEPT Arcus. Now, the KANSEPT Arcus is one that is fairly new. So I'll give it a pass because it's new, or give you guys a pass because it's new. But I gotta say, this thing is awesome. It's really, really, really awesome. It comes in lots of different materials, lots of different versions, different inlays. This one's the Damascus with the micarta, but there is an S35VN version with the titanium frame locking, like G10 overlays and stuff. It does have a titanium mill pocket clip, good access to the lock bar, very smooth on the drop, super snappy flipping action, and then you have a fuller that works great. Fantastic fuller action, and it's super snappy, super sleek, and that's what's awesome about it. If you like sleek, lightweight EDC knives, but that are full size, check out the Arcus, man. This thing is a utility cutting. You can use this with so much precision. You know, you feel so good to wield something like this because it's such a capable knife. So this is a knife that you can carry, and it's going to excel at most tasks because it's slim, because it's sleek. Granted, it's not going to be a camping knife. I get that. But as far as everyday carry goes, this thing is amazing. I absolutely love this thing. And I just, when you love something so much, right? And I'm not saying like all the knives on this list I love. I'm not saying that. There are a few that I do. But as far as some knives, like this one that I personally love, you want to see other people understand what you love about it. You want to see other people kind of raving about, like, yeah, man, this thing's actually cooler than I would have thought. Because personally, me just looking at it, you know, I wouldn't have thought, like, this thing's going to be as awesome as it is. But then when I carry it and I use it, it's such a good knife. I could literally go on and on. I could do 100 knives in this video. I could do a part 2, a part 3, a part 4, because there are so many great knives that get overshadowed, you know, because there are so many amazing knives. You know, maybe I should make a video on amazing knives that get a lot of attention that are well deserved. But anyways, work hard, stay tough. Society is relying on you. I love you guys. Peace.